Welcome viewers to the SD online classes. Today we are doing class 9 physics, Mizoram Board of School Education, chapter 1. The name of the chapter is motion. We have already finished some portion up to the speed. Earlier we did what is rest, what is motion, what is scalar quantity, what is vector quantity, all this, and we have just finished speed and their types of speed, okay, in the previous lecture. In this lecture, what we will do is we will try to study velocity, okay. Velocity is very much similar to your speed. Once you know the speed, it is not difficult to understand velocity. A difference is there. It is a vector quantity, that means it will have direction. Just if you remember, we studied distance and displacement. Displacement was the one which had direction. Its unit was also meter. Exactly like that, now we will have velocity in place of speed, which will have same unit meter per second, but it will be having direction, okay. That is why it is a vector quantity. Let us try to write its definition and try to understand what is it is exactly. So let us see the definition of velocity. Meaning is, velocity is defined as the distance, remember distance, covered by a body per unit time. So that means exactly same. Up to here, if I cover this part, exactly same. Velocity and speed is exactly same. But the end is that in a given direction, that means when you say speed in a direction, it becomes the velocity, okay. When we were considering velocity, speed, we do not talk about direction because it is made up of distance and time. Now it is made up of distance and time, but that distance is in a direction. What is that distance in a direction? That is displacement. So in the same thing, I want to tell you in a different language. If it is speed of the body, okay, velocity is what? It is the speed of the body in a particular direction. This is important. This is important, okay. Velocity is nothing but speed only, but in a particular direction. That means direction has to be considered when you are talking about velocity. Now one more thing, one more way to say the same thing, rate of change of displacement, important, okay. Here no more distance, displacement. Why displacement? Displacement means now it is the distance in a direction, in a particular direction, okay. Rate of change of displacement is known as velocity, okay. Now most of the things will be similar, like velocity will be v, define v, displacement divided by time. This will be the formula, okay. Just like speed, if you remember, speed was also distance by time. V, usually we write it like this, d by t. D means displacement, okay, right. This is a symbol of vector. It may not be used in the textbook, okay. This is not used in your textbook, so I will not use it, okay. So this is the formula, okay. SI unit is what? SI unit of velocity is meter per second, okay. Velocity is a vector quantity. This is very important, okay. Vector quantity. Remember, speed was scalar quantity. It has no direction, okay, but it has direction now. Velocity has direction. That is the big difference, okay. Next, just like speed, what are the types of velocity? That is the next. So the first one is uniform velocity. Just like uniform speed, non-uniform speed, average speed, instantaneous speed. Here also uniform velocity will be the first one, okay. If a moving object, suppose the object is moving, has equal displacement. Remember, displacement means final and initial positions distance. Equal displacement in equal intervals of time, however small the time interval may be. This looks very familiar, okay. In the speed, uniform speed also we use the same thing. However small the time interval may be, then the object is said to be moving with uniform velocity. Uniform velocity is that if the displacement is equal in equal time, then it will be uniform velocity. Another way of telling, if you want to include distance, then you have to say in a particular direction. Distance in a particular direction, that means displacement only. If a moving object covers equal distances in equal intervals of time in a particular direction, in one direction. Okay, no change in direction is allowed in uniform velocity. However small the time interval may be, this interval I can take 5 second, 2 second, 1 second, 0.1 second also, we take long time also, short time also you can take. It is said to be moving with uniform velocity. This type is called uniform velocity. So remember, uniform speed and uniform velocity are very much same. Only difference is here the direction is involved. Okay, uniform velocity means the displacement is equal with every equal intervals of time. Then what will be the second one? Here important thing is you need to remember the direction has to be same. In uniform velocity you cannot change direction also. Let's try to understand what is variable velocity, the second kind of velocity. Okay, variable velocity means vary, change. Variable means something which can change, so variable means changeable. Non-uniform velocities, if either the speed or direction, you may change the speed. If the speed is changing or the direction is changing or both are changing, three way. Okay, speed change also non-uniform, direction change also non-uniform, or both also, speed and direction together also if they change, then also you will be called non-uniform velocity. Okay, now I'll give you each and every one here. The first one, if an object covers unequal distance in equal interval of time, suppose 0, it starts from O, A, 2 meter, 1 second, 2 meter, another 1 second, 5 meter. Okay, already different speed, different velocity, different distance is covered. 2 meter, here it is covering 5 meter, here it is covering 15 meters. So this is a clear case example of non-uniform speed and non-uniform velocity also. Okay, now one more interesting thing is there, number B, is that if object moves or covers equal distance in equal interval of time, then this is called uniform speed. Remember, this is called uniform speed, but changes direction. If suppose it is changing direction, then it is non-uniform velocity. Okay, velocity, because velocity needs direction also maintained. Understand? Suppose one object is going uniform speed, but only because of the direction it can have non-uniform velocity, because velocity requires, velocity says you maintain the direction also. Direction maintaining same means it can move only in a straight line. If it is changing the line direction, then it cannot be uniform velocity. It can be uniform speed, but it cannot be uniform velocity, remember. Okay, so that is the two things you need to be very precise with. Now the third example, third type of velocities. Here comes the third one, average velocity. What is this? Let's try to understand. Average is, suppose you have one object moving, but it is moving with different velocity, 5, 10, 20, like this, different type of velocity it is moving, and you want one velocity out of all that, which may not be that exactly also. Okay, it is taking the average of all of them and making another new velocity which actually may not be that. Okay, average velocity is that velocity with which the body would cover, would means not the real, would have covered the same distance along a particular direction, means displacement, this distance along a particular direction means displacement, in the same time. Exactly in the same time, suppose that one vehicle is going here, here, and it is changing its speed. So now what we want, another way, the same vehicle goes with the same speed. What is that same speed which makes it reach at the same time there? Okay, so that is the average velocity. Okay, slowly you will understand what, and it has two cases also where you will use two different formula. Let me write that. This is the first case, when the object moves with variable velocity. Variable means changing speed along one direction, same direction, but it is changing speed. Okay, it is a non-uniform speed. Here I want to take one velocity, average velocity means I have to follow the same speed for average speed formula. If you have already done in speed number 3 also, average speed, just like that. V average was total distance by total time. Like that, total displacement by total time. This is finish. Now there is a second case also, which I'll write it. So this is the second case, when the velocity of the object is changing. Remember, there is a difference. Velocity of the object is changing means in a uniform rate. This is the case of your changing velocity in a particular direction. Suppose the velocity is changing but the rate of changing is same, accelerating. Okay, this is the case of acceleration, but we have not studied acceleration, so that is why I'll not tell you right now. After it will come. There you don't have to take displacement, but what you are going to take initial velocity and final velocity. What was the initial velocity, starting velocity, that is denoted by u. Initial velocity is u, plus final velocity at the end. What is the velocity? Those two you take and take the mean. You remember in statistics also you do this in maths. Two things taken, number of values 2, how many values? 1, 2, so you divide by 2. So this is the real average velocity. Okay, so this way you use two different formula for doing this. Okay, the definition already has been written. The unit is also same because it is velocity only. The fourth type is also there. So it will be followed by the differences between your speed and velocity. Let's see one by one. It is a summary of this lesson also, this particular lecture. It is a distance traveled by a body in unit time. Speed is what? Distance traveled, but velocity is distance covered by a body in a unit time, same thing, in a particular direction. This is easy to remember here, in a particular direction. That means velocity has direction. Okay, that is important. It is scalar quantity, it is vector quantity. Why? This has no direction, speed has no direction, velocity has direction. Speed is always positive, okay, because distance is always positive. You cannot cover negative distance. Velocity can be both positive as well as negative, because you can go from here and come back here. Okay, so you can have negative velocity also, because you can go in the negative direction also. Okay, and what is the formula of speed? Distance by time. Very simple. Velocity is also similar, displacement by time. One important last one is average speed of a moving body cannot be zero. Why? Because if a body is moving body, then the distance cannot be zero. If this is never zero, if this is not zero, this speed cannot be zero. But here average velocity can be zero because the displacement can be zero. So, or initial and final velocity, both you add, one of them may be negative of the other, and then they can be zero. If that is displacement is zero, automatically velocity will be zero. So that is why average velocity of a moving body can be zero. Okay, even when the body is moving, velocity may be zero sometime, but average speed cannot be zero. These are the differences. Okay, in the next lectures we will be starting to do some numericals on the speed and average, average speed and not average, speed and velocity together. Okay, thank you.